Dubliner Edwin Ryan is a sculptor. For the past decade he has worked on movie sets, sculpting to the many diverse specifications of designers. He's had many jobs in his working life, all related to moulding shapes, whether they be in clay, plaster or polystyrene. He grew up not too far from Joyce's Tower in Sandycove.
As a youngster, you'd get your presents, your little packet of plasticine, and I'd just wander off into a corner, and something had happened. I'd come back with something, God knows, whether it be a small animal or, I can't really remember, but a lot of it is I was told that there was always these things. I was kind of have another one, because these were going to go up on the mantelpiece. I kind of, oh, that's nice, I like that, keep that. So there was very little kind of developing. I think I want to be a sculptor. It just always did it. It was something I've always done, and as it developed, I suppose where it really came to the point where I realised, oh, maybe I can make a living out of this, was when I joined the foundry, and I actually saw that there was people out there who made a career out of working as a sculptor. It wasn't just a hobby, that it could be developed into something else.
The Dublin Art Foundry was where Edwin Ryan learnt the skills which he needed for sculpting. Back in the 1980s, he worked with many artists and played a part in bringing their pieces to a three-dimensional bronze form.
This head of George Bernard Shaw by Marjorie Fitzgibbon was brought in clay to be cast in bronze. Now it goes through various stages while it's in here, 5 stages. First stage is to make a rubber mould of it, which is this mould here.
As a young man, Sandycove was very inspirational for him as he began to make sculptures of James Joyce.
Some of the earliest pieces I did actually were influenced by this area, because I bring the Joycean influence into it. I did a piece which actually initially I thought would have looked lovely here, as did a maquette, thinking that'd look really nice sitting under the tower looking out at Howth. Also did a collection of medals for the Irish Times collection. They were given as kind of awards and gifts at some stage. And I've also done kind of seated Joyce and various other kind of Joycean themed pieces, again, which would have been influenced by this.
Fitzgerald's Pub is one of the stops for the Bloomsday Revellers on the 16th of June every year. Owner Tom Fitzgerald has had one of Edwin's statues here for quite some time, which is often remarked upon by his clientele.
Because it's so near the Joyce Tower, it's one of the main stops. We start off here, and we have the singing, the drinking, and the eating, and a bit of crack. We have many Joyce artefacts. We have a lovely statue here by Edwin, a local artist, and this is what Mr. Joyce would have looked like when he was around here in 1902, 1904, around that. People say, why don't they have a full-size statue down? That's what he looked like. And I think the original idea was that, but we have him here 20 years, I think, now. And he's our little pet, so we keep an eye on him.
Edwin has made pieces for movies such as King Arthur, Ella Enchanted, Reign of Fire and The League of Gentlemen's Apocalypse. One of the most recent big Hollywood movies to be made in this country was the romantic comedy Leap Year, which opened last weekend.
This year...
I guess. Let's move.
Comes as a real shock to find out that you speak fluent cow.
The girl who's always in control will find out what happens.
You fried my blackberry.
You fried the whole village.
When you lose it.
Wait.
Stop it! The car.
Dublin Castle was one of the locations chosen for the film. Edwin was employed to sculpt and make sets to the specifications of the designers.
While working on the film Leap Year, part of the job was to actually, on the front of this building here, to build up a false frontage to replicate an apartment block in Boston, I think. And that was done with wooden sheets, and then also applying polystyrene sheets and tiles onto the front of it to give just the rusticated finish of a Bostonian building. So a lot of it was actually just to create the stuff in a workshop and then bring it in and place it up. And then painters, decorative painters, would come along and work on them, and they'd paint and age it and try and match as best they could. And they did a particularly good job on this one to the Portland stone on the cornice and the enrichments above. As well as this kind of architectural work, there was also standing stones. There was kind of some name plaques, things like that. Basically, a lot of more like prop work. Nothing figurative. Was nearly all architectural or just organic stone shapes. One of the more interesting aspects of this was doing this frontage was one of the largest frontages, like kind of stone replicating jobs that I'd worked in poly a good bit before, kind of figurative work and, as I say, stones and things like that. But to actually take on an architectural piece was actually, it was interesting. It was interesting, and it was challenging in that making sure that you got your measurements right.
Edwin now lives on the north side of Dublin. His garden shed is his workshop, where he likes to work on small figurative pieces. Work on movies has been slow of late, but he is hopeful that it will pick up again.
Well, although I've been doing an awful lot more work of my own work like this, I mean, for the past 10 years I've been working in the film industry. Unfortunately, last year there was very, very limited work, and it's been getting worse over the past year or two. But I'm hoping now with the preservation of the film board and the kind of them continuing to get their funding, that hopefully things will pick up and it'll kind of build confidence outside the country, maybe to bring bigger films in again. I mean, we've had some fabulous stuff in films like King Arthur, Ella Enchanted with Anne Hathaway, Reign of Fire. You know, some really big films that have done very well and have, you know, reflected Ireland in a really positive way. You know, it's great. It'd be great to see more of that sort of stuff coming back in again.
In the meantime, Edwin keeps developing his skills as a sculptor. Quiet time in his workshop is good for keeping the spirits up, despite the downturn in business.
Over the past year, like most people, I found that there's less and less work out there. So what I tend to do with this work is a lot of this is more to keep my hand in, just to keep myself fresh. Because it's like anything, if you don't keep working at it, it loses its sharpness. It becomes kind of stodgy. So it's basically, a lot of this is just, it's work for myself. It's not commission work, unfortunately, but it's the sort of work that just it'll keep me ticking over and keep me happy.